What's up, guys? I'm your host Norgoz, and today we're going to talk about why tanks suck. Actually, we're here to talk about what happened this week. There's been a lot of concern around some of the changes to jobs since Stormblood has launched. And this week, Naoki Yoshida took to the forums to make a post and respond and give us feedback about some of those changes. One of the concerns was surrounding the damage calculations for tank classes, and that's what our main focus is today. I do want to dig right into this, but I think if I don't give you the full picture before we dissect it, it's not going to make as much sense. So I'm going to quote directly from Naoki Yoshida. Players have expressed concern that enmity is difficult to sustain. Some have taken to using eye-level 270 strength accessories to address the issue, and numerous measures have been put forth. We've received requests for damage calculations to be made bit-based again, like they were during the 3.x patch series. As Vitality also influences HP, however, adjusting it is liable to lead to HP inflation. And so we have no plan to adopt this method at present. Vitality-based damage was deemed workable during 3.x and was employed in the interim. However, as eye-level 270 strength accessories don't increase HP, this places an increased burden upon healers, and we are working to address the issue by 4.05. While we must ask for your patience, please rest assured that we are working on this as a matter of priority. Now I want to break this down piece by piece, bit by bit, because I have my concerns with this, and I'm a little confused on some of these points because some of them actually conflict with each other. First, players have expressed concern that enmity is difficult to sustain. Some have taken to using strength accessories to address the issue, and numerous measures have been put forth. So, yes, they did increase the aggro generation on some of the tank's abilities. I think that's more of a quality of life change than anything else. I haven't had aggro issues to the point to where I felt that was a necessary change, but I'll take it. It's a quality of life change, and that's what I'll take it as. And I think that if you're a tank that's doing it because of aggro generation issues, you really need to take a step back and take a look at yourself as a player and how you're playing. Are you tanking in defensive stance? Are you starting the fights in defensive stance? Are you staying in defensive stance long enough to generate enough aggro to swap into offensive stance or swap out of defensive stance to do damage? And at what points are you doing this? As a warrior, I'll start a fight in defensive stance. Get a little bit of an aggro, get a little aggro, and within the first 10 seconds of the fight, I'm swapping back into offensive stance, and I will not lose hate during the fight.
Oh God!
Ever. And yes, I use strength accessory, but I use it for DPS. I've done the same thing with Vitality Jewelry. I've not had an issue with that. So I don't know what the other tanks are doing. Again, you got to keep in mind, we have people that are jumping to 60 to play tanks. They may be new to the game, or they may just be bad tanks. Tanking in any MMO is made so overly complicated. It's frustrating. I'll leave it at that. Just keep in mind, there are people that are just bad players. So I don't know how much of this is bad players or new players trying to do tanks, or how much of it's coming from that. But I've not once used strength accessories to help hold aggro. I just simply haven't. I've done it for damage. And most of the tanks that are doing it are in-game raiders that are using it for damage purposes. And that's it. That's what it comes down to. So linking those two together, it's a little concerning to me because I want to know where that message is coming from, or if the message is being misunderstood. Moving on to the next point. The request for the damage calculation to be made 50-50 strength vitality again. They don't want to do that because it's liable to lead to HP inflation. Okay, so what you're telling me is that you don't expect us to use all Vitality Jewelry. However, you've limited our options on 70 Jewelry to all Vitality Jewelry. So we're supposed to use level 60 Strength Accessories, at least to a point. But Strength Accessories don't increase HP. This places an increased burden upon healers. Okay, so we're supposed to use it, but we're not because it places an increased burden upon healers. However, side note, I don't know what live letter this was, but the producers, directors, or devs had made a statement, 34, 35, 36 maybe on the live letter. They were discussing white mage changes or healing changes, and they made it very clear. They said, we do not expect healers to do DPS. Okay, so you don't expect healers to do DPS, but it's a problem because strength accessories put an increased burden upon healers. Because although they're not supposed to do DPS, we don't want them to work as hard. I'm confused. You got to pick a side here. You got to explain this to me. Help me out. So, healers that are healing, you know that you have plenty of opportunity to weave in damage spells in between heals and do DPS. Tanking an offensive stance as a warrior, I have not had any issues, or seen any issues with healers both keeping me alive and doing DPS. 1 to 1.5k DPS for a healer on Susan X, that's pretty solid numbers, okay? That's while I'm tanking an offensive stance with all strength jewelry. So, but they're not supposed to do DPS, and me using strength jewelry puts an increased burden upon them, so they can't do the job as well. I really, again, this kind of goes back, I don't know where this is coming from. I know that for some people, for some players, it's more of a burden than others, but for in-game players, for in-game raiders, it's been made clear to me, doing pickup groups, that if people are doing that in pickup groups, people that are in-game hardcore raiders that are good players, really good players, or great players, they're not going to see an issue with this. And they haven't. I'm just really confused at some of these things, because we're being told, okay, we're not supposed to use all vitality. Anyway, I digress. Here's some solutions to consider, and here's what could be coming. So we swap it to... So we make it so we can't use strength jewelry, and we increase the damage output from tenacity to compensate for that. That's not gonna fix the HP inflation, though, so maybe you could lower vitality on the jewelry to compensate for it. Maybe that would help. Or you lower vitality on jewelry and you swap to the old damage calculation as well in the process. So you don't get you don't get HP inflation, and you don't get, too much damage from tanks, because apparently tanks are doing too much damage. And, there are DPS out there that I'm out DPSing as a warrior, so, and I've yet to be out DPS by a tank yet, so that's not to say that I'm the best, because I'm not. But that is going to say that there are a lot of tanks out there that do not focus on damage at all, or not enough, and, I don't know what to say. So, those are a couple of options, and maybe those are some of the things we might see with some of the upcoming potential changes. I'm still really confused as to where some of these statements are coming from. I genuinely want to know, who is it that's complaining about aggro to the point where they're saying, I'm using strength jewelry for this. We're using it for damage. I'm confused on the direction that they're trying to point tanks in. I guess you want us to mix vitality and strength, but strength at the same time. Doing that increases an increased burden upon healers. So I don't know what we're supposed to do. I think at this point there's some just poor game design with some of the combat changes, and it's sad because I'm just throwing this out there. I love Square Enix. I have full faith and trust that they are going to fix this issue in a way that solves the problem for every job, not just tanks, but also for healers. So I'm just really confused at the direction that we're supposed to be going in the interim. What are your guys' thoughts on this? I genuinely want to know. I've never made a video where I've really wanted to hear your comments as much as this one. So please drop comments below. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If it didn't and it sucked, you know what to do. That's it. Just remember, sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear eats you, and sometimes you're not supposed to use strength accessories. I'm your host, Norgoz. I'll see you next time.